Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon in crystal clear HD. That's over 220 football games for the entire regular season. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you include NFL Red Zone, a channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game and all your fantasy football teams. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket. Call 601-8992 today.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, assessment of Joaquin's impact on southern and central Bahamas continued today. We get the first on-the-ground account of the storm's damage in affected areas. Plus, Bahamians joining together to help their fellow countrymen in need. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on MB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to MB12. In the wake of Hurricane Joaquin, senior government officials headed back to the affected islands today to get a ground-level view of the destruction caused on Acklins, Crooked Island, Rum Cay, San Salvador, Long Island, and Cat Island. Our news team also traveled today to some of those islands to hear residents tell their stories of survival. Our Kyle Joaquin visited the islands of Rum Cay and San Salvador, where residents are trying to pick up the pieces.
We're here in San Salvador not long after Hurricane Joaquin passed over. Now, as you can see, the sea is still raging, but just over there, a trail of destruction left behind by the Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah, actually the roof came off of this building from on Wednesday night. Yeah. First the cold front, and then on Thursday, and we were losing the rest of the building. Like you can see that the shingle came off of there, and one of the standby generator house came down. You see the wall came down. So all the rooms are all mashed up pretty much. We have guests coming in on Saturday, 27 guests coming in for the week of diving. So right now we don't know what we're gonna do because they all gear up to come in. So I'm trying to figure out, we have no generator, no power.
At Riding Rock Marina, Williams returned to his property to meet windows smashed, and the roof of one structure now sits on top of a car. The owner said he's endured numerous hurricanes, including Francis and Lily, but this was by far the worst he's ever seen.
I put my hand on my head, and I just thank God to be alive. But I figure with all the other stuff we could now put together and do it. But it's rough.
Driving along the road past homes, you could see the damage Joaquin left behind. Pieces of wood thrown all around, some homes with parts of the roof missing, and clothes on the outside. And a group of locals shared their story of how they went out during the storm and helped those in need.
No water on the island. I was saving lives last night. Roof was caving in, I was running through the hurricane. See, I have my life jacket still on. Me and this guy.
Yes, I was the guy who made the report for the earlier days, but we catching hell over here and no one looked at it. Seems that they cared.
No one.
But we came to assist the people and we did our best. Yeah. We got the water, put them on bed, we dropping it around, helping people in the houses. We doing everything we could. It was rough, but we made it.
Over at the Bahamas Electricity Corporation's plant in San Salvador, part of the roof was ripped off, and inside the building, generators damaged and thousands of dollars worth of new equipment destroyed. BEC Executive Chairman Leslie Miller said this damage could have those residents out of power for at least 2 weeks.
Out for at least 2 weeks, maybe more, at least 2 weeks. Out from what I see here, you got a lot of power lines down on both sides of the island. They have one truck. They would need at least one bucket truck, along with about 6 men on supplies to come and try to restore power on this island.
Here in Rum Cay, there's absolutely no telling when these residents will have their power fully restored. The power lines all down, the poles snapped from the bottom. Just about every lamp pole on the tiny island of Rum Cay now lies on the ground. The wooden structures people once called home took a beating from Hurricane Joaquin. The heavy winds and storm surges ravaged the island. Any structure still left standing suffered significant damage. This lucky woman said she made it through the first half of the storm, but as the eye passed over, she realized she had to get out, and it was a good thing she did, because when she returned to her home after the storm, the roof was gone and everything was destroyed.
Devastating and disappointing.
So what are you going to do now?
Well, I just have to cope with whatever the situation is until I get some assistance or do what I can. That's all I can do. Thank God for life.
But hers is just one of several horrific stories on the island. Rosalind Bethel said the water came up through the ground.
It's very bad. I mean, that's all I could that's all I could say about it. It was bad, terrible. No, we had water came from underneath the floor straight up to the ground, so we got to change everything from inside. The clothes them was wet and everything. Otherwise, thank God for because we all alive.
Windows were covered, but they were rattling to the point that it was like, I got to get out of here. So
you ran out into the storm.
I ran out, and we had this old car in the weeds that's like sort of like a capsule. They're tempered glass in the windows, and I crawled in the back of a Pathfinder.
How long did you stay in there?
5 hours on the front end and 6 hours on the back end.
And for this father, the rain started around 5 Thursday evening, and by 7, his home was flooded.
All I got to stay by my little restaurant. If you can't do nothing, we're just trying to clean up. No place to stay right now.
How do you feel about this? I mean, this looks like this is.
Feel like jumping on something and go and never return.
How long have you lived here? How long have you had this house?
All of my years. How long I had this house? Yeah. Almost 23 years.
You've been living here all your life.
Yeah, I was living on Rum Cay all my life.
And now you just
feel like jumping on a boat or a plane and never return.
And as for the dock in Rum Cay, built not long ago, that's gone. With very little food and water on the island, these residents were just glad for the little bit of help they could get. Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis took a team with him to carry much-needed food and water to residents of both San Salvador and Rum Cay. But for those in Rum Cay, with the state the tiny island is in, they know they've got a long road ahead of them.
And I had to come to, and anyone would know, I was at the airport from at least 9 o'clock attempting to get out and hoping that the airports would open and to be able to come down and do what little I can to lend some relief and bring some comfort to my people here in Rum Cay. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of infrastructural damage to the dock here. All of the, some of the significant poles leading to the power station have all been snapped, and so it really means that restoration for electricity may take a while.
Reporting from Rum Cay for NB12 Weekend, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, Prime Minister Perry Christie says it will cost government millions of dollars to repair the significant damage caused by Hurricane Joaquin. Christie, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, and heads of various government agencies flew over San Salvador and Rum Cay Saturday afternoon before visiting Long Island to see for themselves the level of devastation and to assure impacted residents that relief is coming. Vonnie Toot was there. She filed this report.
Hours after Hurricane Joaquin moved away from the Bahamas, Prime Minister Perry Christie, accompanied by members of his cabinet and the opposition leader, flew into Long Island, which is one of the hardest hit islands. One resident described the Category 4 storm as a monster.
This is my island, and I would like for the government to take care of Long Island, the entire Long Island and the southeastern Bahamas. Yes. Because this hurricane was a monster. Yeah. I've never experienced nothing like this before. Yeah. What I went through, I said, I don't want to go through this again.
Long Island resident Dilla Smith says while she was not impacted because her home is elevated, her heart bleeds for the many residents who lost everything when Hurricane Joaquin pummeled the island last week. Relentless rain and storm surges flooded homes and left the Deadman's Key Airport runway underwater, while strong winds ripped off roofs and downed utility poles and trees, making some roads impassable. Smith says Joaquin is the worst thing to happen to Long Island.
This storm wasn't nothing to play with. I don't take nothing for granted. Yeah. If the breeze, they say it only blowing 10 miles per hour, my storm shutters is up. Yeah. Because when you wait for last minute, that's when accidents happen. Yeah. Things could go wrong. You could lose your life doing foolishness. Yeah. I came out last night because we didn't have no communication. And I was concerned about some of the elderly people in my area. So I want y'all not to just come here today, pay this visit, and when y'all leave us abandoned. Yeah. Y'all take care of Long Island. Because we are tired of it.
Deputy Chairman of the North Long Island Town Committee, Addington Burrows, says While the northern part of Long Island was spared for the most part, residents on the southern end of the island are in desperate need of help and questioned how long it would take for government to provide much-needed relief.
And the roads are devastating. Some part of the roads are eaten up.
Impassable roads and a flat tire on the police vehicle carrying the Prime Minister and opposition leader cut their visit to Long Island short, preventing them from getting a first-hand look at the loss and suffering residents have experienced. However, a flyover of the devastated areas painted a grim picture of the destruction Hurricane Joaquin left in its wake. NEMA Director Stephen Russell and Prime Minister Christie say they must find a way to bring relief to residents on the southern end of Long Island.
We came here and we saw there's a blockage in terms of accessing the whole island because of something beyond our control, the flooding. Therefore, we must now see how we can get across that particular barrier. And we aim now to look at where our assets are and seek to bring them to the area to assist us in rectifying that problem of getting across the island.
The Commodore of the Defense Force has indicated that naval assets of the Bahamian Defense Force are moving towards Long Island. And so we are therefore trying to concentrate resources that will be able to bring relief to the people of these affected areas. We are not going to spare any effort at all in being able to bring immediate assistance to the people wherever they are.
Though officials have had great difficulty reaching residents in that part of the island, the Prime Minister shot down rumors that there were 8 storm-related deaths on Long Island.
It is not true. And so I want to be able to say that even though we have to anticipate with this kind of calamitous impact on our country, that people could die, we are very, very happy up to this point to know that there's been a loss of life, but they said not connected to the hurricane.
During their brief trip to Long Island, officials brought with them medication and 50 cases of bottled water. 9 Defense Force officers also visited the island in a 15-seater aircraft yesterday to deliver much-needed supplies to those in need. Christie, who also got an aerial view of the damage caused in San Salvador and Rum Cay, says he has seen enough to know government will have to spend millions of dollars in recovery efforts. Government has the support of opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, who said he was glad to accompany the Prime Minister.
Happy to be here today to travel with the team, myself and Hubert Chipman, the member for St. Anne's. I think the country has suffered a national disaster, and I think this is a time for the country to come together. There's no red and there's no yellow. It's one nation, and we must understand that when lives are at stake, we must all work together.
Minnis says it is important to put aside political differences in time of tragedy.
Once there's any national disaster, it's not politics. You must remember that the islands were hit by Hurricane Joaquin. Joaquin did not determine which was red and which was white. Joaquin only devastated homes generally. And we must work accordingly. We must work together as one Bahamas to bring this nation back.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
Well, Mike Hall, MPV Alfred Gray, and Labor Minister Shane Gibson led teams of technical experts to Long Island and Acklands today to see firsthand the damage caused by Joaquin on those southern islands. Before heading out this morning, Gray told reporters they have had no communication with residents of Salina Point, Acklands, since the storm, and he finds that troubling.
My heart bleeds for the people of Salina Point in particular because they are 45 miles from the nearest settlement, and we have heard nothing from them since the hurricane occurred. And that, to me, is troubling. We don't know what's going on there. They can't come to us. We can't go to them because of the depth of the water between the settlements.
Strong winds and heavy rainfall severely damaged homes and buildings on both islands, leaving some residents displaced. Gray says he expects government to do whatever it can to bring relief to his constituents in the shortest time possible.
Because all of the electricity has been out for the last 3-4 days, so it's no television. If they don't have battery radio, that's the end of the communication system. There's no cell phone, there's no landline, and so we are disconnected from them totally.
Well, relief efforts continue today for those islands ravaged by the hurricane. Leah Head Rigby and her friend Gina Knoll spearheaded efforts to send several pallets of essential items like food, water, clothing, and bedding to the affected islands. Our news team caught up with volunteers at the Furniture Plus warehouse on the East-West Highway, where dozens of people were out in full force.
Well, we woke up Friday morning and said, I don't see anything on Facebook about relief. And I texted Gina. I said, Gina, let's go. I'm going to start up a fund. I'm going to tell everybody, bring by and say, they're sorry, I've actually done it. And let's go. And that's what happened. The minute we put it on Facebook, the minute we started, before the end of the day, we were up to quite a substantial amount of money. Today is now Sunday, so 3 days later, we're full warehouse, full trucks, 4 full trucks already, and trucks coming full with stuff.
Head Rigby said what is most inspiring is the level of support Bahamians have been giving in such a short amount of time. She said they've already raised $14,000 for the victims of Joaquin through a GoFundMe account.
The thing is that we're getting these loads, Coca-Cola, all these people are running, but they understand that what we're doing is for the entire nation. So all the islands affected, I should say, where the storm started to where the storm ended. We've got Acklins, Rum Cay, Crooked Island, Samanaki, San Salvador, Long Island, and yes, 5. So we've got 5 big piles. That's the way we're doing these things. And then as they come, now people have said, here's a pallet that wants to go to Crooked Island, please. And sure, we're adding them to our Crooked Island pilot, you know? So we're trying to make sure everything is evenly distributed. And we want to make sure people know that this is going to the right people.
Knoll said this collaboration goes to show that private citizens can mobilize in the time of crisis without the aid of government.
We're here to help, and not only because, you know, I'm a Conky Joe and I'm a Knowles, I'm not only helping Long Island. And that's what a lot of people who didn't know us, and I said, we are helping everybody in need. I have not yet heard from my family in Long Island. And the last thing I heard, they was in the attic. And I have a special niece. So I'm doing this out of my heart. My husband is going on the boat. I have a friend who, and you know what's touching? They call and they say, we have a plane. You need a plane? What do you need? Call us, you tell us what we need. Little General just came down. They dropped off a truckload of stuff. Milo Butler, they call, what do you need? And what, I mean, it's more than just the gardens. You know, we say we need dog food and cat food. They dropped off a truck. George dropped off a truck of shoes. And
Lorraine's dropped off a whole truck of clothes.
And it's just, and the people coming
We're getting mattresses.
Right, and writing checks.